The sponsorship field and activities and our conversations with business and other sectors evolved as well. It evolved in tune with the artistic programme and indeed took its inspiration from that, but it also evolved in the context of wider political, economic and cultural change and completely unexpected events. Broadly, the early part was commercial sponsorship, the second part was we exploring our civic role, and then the third phase was exploring a kind of co-learning relationship with businesses, which was very radical, and but I will explain more about that in a minute. So, some of the many artists that we brought from around the world. Some of you may recognise an image from Fenton, and Conrad coached me in how to pronounce the theatre, Teatr Rozmaitości. Is that right? Forgive my Polish. But this was a very exciting visit. I'm just going to race through these images just to give you a flavour of the variety and different ways of looking at the world that we brought to the festival over the years, and different forms of theatre, always exploring what theatre is and who it can be for and where it can happen. Again, Fenton. First production we ever brought Macunaíma from Brazil and the government inspector from Hungary, Katanjózsef Theatre. De la Guarda from Argentina. Yerma from the company from Chandigarh in India. And to the left, Alive from Palestine, from Ramallah. And to the right, the Market Theatre Johannesburg with satire on the not-so-new South Africa. Josie Josie is short for Johannesburg. Acrobat, pure physical prowess from Australia. And then, so that was the window on the world, and now we move to a phase window on London, and UK artists were programmed in the festival. And this was a real kind of eureka moment that in a sense we realised that international cultural exchange could only happen when people were sharing a project, particularly in a huge city like London, where you have to be very deliberate about bringing people together. And if they're sharing a stage, sharing a programme, you can actually foster that interaction. And also that, in a sense, people can't have a dialogue in the abstract, that if they're sharing a project and negotiating around a common issue, then there is a real chance for dialogue across normal boundaries. And these are some of the UK artists. Bobby Baker. This was investigation about the spiritual journey of shopping. And Bo Gamelan on lighting up the chimney. Those of you who've been to London and seen Tate Modern, this was before the Tate had a glimpse in their eye for Bankside, and already artists had perceived this neglected power station right in the middle of London as an untapped resource, a neglected resource. And to that side, the Station House Opera. And then in terms of engaging our younger generation, we looked at our visitors with a different sense of them as a resource for inspiration and fostering creativity and cross-cultural communication amongst young Londoners. So this was the first ever visit from Vietnam of an ancient form, the water puppets. And there was a very little-known population of Vietnamese refugees in London. And this was an opportunity to celebrate their presence in London and for their school fellows to understand better their cultural origins. So they produced a performance. I think there were about 9 schools involved and an audience of about 3,000 people over a series of days came to see these children perform a story. And then that was billed in the programme with the same status as the visiting production. So going on to opening doors between London and the world, we began to experiment how artists and audiences could work together. And one of the important concepts that we were exploring was that in a dialogue where there is equity, it's important to work out a kind of way of interacting together so that one voice doesn't squash another. And with colleagues in South Africa, we began working on a project called Project Pakama, which means rise up or lift up. And it was working with the stories of young people to then create a performance out of their own stories. And we learnt an amazing amount from that project, and it came to influence me in the way that I shaped and thought about how we might structure a co-learning relationship with business, which I'll come on to later. We also, in terms of engaging our audiences, encouraged people really to dig deep. There was a sense with new technologies that theatre, live theatre, was kind of almost endangered, and that one needed really to re-examine, why is it that we do this? Why do we make live theatre? And so we asked a huge range of people who were passionate about theatre, whether they were policemen or scientists or practitioners, to begin to question, if it was missing from my life, what would the difference be? We also began to look at artists' response to the threats to the environment and putting nature centre stage, as it were. And in this piece by some British artists, sun, water and growing grass were on the stage. They were the only performers in this piece. We also explored our work with young people at reinventing traditions. I mean, every culture has celebration of cycles, natural seasonal cycles, understanding of growth, and so on. But often with consumer society, those traditions have disappeared, and we forget about them, and the younger generation doesn't know about them. So again, this was a kind of cross-sector collaboration around growing an entire school dinner over a year, and then serving it to the public with a potter, a chef, and the teachers and the children all working together, and a gardener. And those are some of the images from that session. And I understand you have in Poland a lot of these allotment little vegetable gardens. We have those in London too, and they're a very important dimension of civil society, but often disregarded as kind of quaint or enjoyable for those people, but not actually a really good base. So back to the business relations. They evolve in tune with these changes that I've touched on in the artistic programme and these wider, bigger issue changes. So we were interested in connecting with businesses to generate more funds for our activities. But what might motivate businesses to get involved with us, we really did not know.